Oh, shit. All right, man. Let's get into a little housekeeping. I just want to say go find us on YouTube, because if you're already subscribed, you're going to see the live stream video. And like if you just go there, it'll take you straight to the live stream and check it out, because that video needs some views. And it was sweet. It was like 4 hours long. And if you're in Minnesota, it's a good inside weekend anyway. I know, Tim, you're going to go fishing this weekend, but what the hell happened last weekend? Follow us on Instagram. Seriously.
Last weekend, I don't know if you guys remember, anybody that listens to this podcast, a couple weeks ago, I said that I'm really excited for this time of year to be spring fishing because I've learned the lake a little bit better. And I thought that I would be able to catch a new personal best walleye. And I did. I went out there and I did what I said I was going to do. And when
Yes, you did.
you do what you said you're going to do, it just, feels good.
Feels so good, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, and the crazy thing is, like, I'm a little bit bummed about it because I didn't have my GoPro on when I went out there, because we had been fishing. My sister came up and stuff. So we ended up going and they were like, let's go fish for crappie. And I'm like, the spawn's over. And they were just like, no, they're crappie. And she thinks she's all like smart because she caught one. Like, okay, there's a couple still here.
Right.
But it's like, it's pretty much over. Let's move on to walleye. That's where we can have some real good success. And I did. But we ended up catching like 2 crappie and then put them back because we didn't catch enough to clean them. But anyways, so I go out.
Proving you're right yet again.
Right. So I go up on my
double win for Tim on the fishing front.
Double win. Well, also I fish a lot, and I knew about the crappie spawn, and this is her first time fishing in like 2 years. Like, who do you think knows a little bit more about fishing? Anyways, so I go and I get a chance to go out by myself. My wife has my son down for a nap and everything, and it's like 2 PM, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go out and I'm gonna go into the depth where I think they are. And I was just like, I'm just gonna feel around because I think this is where they are, and I'm like hoping I just get a bite, and then I'll be like, yes, got a bite, know that this is where I should be. And boom, and I start fishing, and I catch a small bass, and I'm like, okay, I'm in the area where some fish are, and then like a bass. I'm like 6 bass in. I'm like, well, fuck, I found the bass, and then I get a fight, like a harder fight, and I'm like, oh, what is this? And then it's a pike, and I'm just like, well, I mean, that's closer.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden I get something like big. I set the hook, and I'm pulling it a little bit, and then all of a sudden just zzz, and drag goes out, and I'm like, oh, got something. And I just had the pike. So, and here's kind of where I am at with fish. I'm like, this is a decent sized fish for sure. So I'm like,
right, you could tell.
In my head, I'm feeling the way it's fighting. It's not running to the surface. So I'm like, I don't think this is a bass. If it was a bass, this is a good bass. And he's trying to stay down. Like, it could be a bass, but it's not fighting like a bass. But if it is a bass, fucking sweet. This is going to be a dope, big-ass bass. And then I'm like thinking in my head, because it has been for me mostly, I'm just like, this is going to be a big pike, But it's kind of just pulling, and I haven't like fought it hard enough to get a real good idea, but I'm in 13 feet of water, and it's super clear water, so I don't have to pull it up very far to be able to see this fish.
Sure.
And I'm looking in the water just to see if I can see something, and then I see it swim, and I see the white on its tail, because a walleye has a white on the bottom side of its tail. There's just a little white dot. Every single one of them has it. If it's a sauger, it doesn't. If it's a walleye, it does. So if you see that white on its tail, it is for sure a walleye. And I saw that white on its tail, and I just go, oh, fuck, it's a walleye. Like, oh, man. And I'm just away. Yes, as soon as I saw it, I'm like half fighting it, like half running to the back of the boat to grab the net because I'm just like, I am not missing this fish. And then I fought it for a little bit longer, got it up, got it in the net, and I just started like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like pulling back in, and I didn't know anybody was paying attention to me on shore. And I pull up and I'm just like, I caught a nice walleye. And they're just like, yeah, we thought you had something. And I'm like, you did? And they're just like, yeah, Dad was looking out at you, and he's just like, he's dancing.
Yeah.
So I didn't know anybody was paying attention to me, but once I landed it, I was
You were just
legitimately
living in the
like,
moment.
yeah. I was so happy.
Oh man,
Oh,
that's
and
awesome.
the adrenaline rush, and then like I don't know, some people like if you don't if you haven't caught a big fish, whatever species, like you can get so amped on that. Like I
Oh,
came
huge.
in and I
Yeah.
was like all excited, and I can't remember. My sister said something, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm still kind of shaky. And she's like, shaky? And I'm like, yeah, I get
Yeah.
a good adrenaline rush. This is a
Oh
big
yeah.
fish. Like,
Oh yeah.
so
For
yeah,
sure.
I was pretty pumped because up until now, every time we had gone out, I had set up my wife with bobber fishing.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding the spots and setting it everything up, and she's the one that always ends up catching the biggest fish. And I'm just like, you don't have the record no more. I got it. I got the big
It's
one.
me.
Yeah.
What'd you catch it on? I missed
I
it if you said it.
caught it on a Callan's Rattling Eye jig, and it was an 1/8 ounce jig, a green. I don't know what color they call it. It's a green jig. There's the base color, a little bit of black on the top, a little bit of orange on the bottom, and then
Mm-hmm.
it was a Northland Tackle Impulse. I don't know if they want to call it Northland anymore. They like revamped. It used to be Northland Impulse, and it was a paddle tail.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
the smelt color, because I didn't see the. Normally I get the shiner, which is black and white, and this was smelt,
Okay.
which is brown and white. Fucking
Okay.
close enough.
Yeah.
And now they like repackaged them, and it just says Impulse. And I
Oh.
randomly found them at Fleet Farm. I had been trying a bunch of different brands because I
Oh.
love those baits, and I'm like, I can't find them
Yeah.
anymore. And then I
Is this
just
the one
found
that?
them. I'm
Yeah.
like,
This is the one you
oh, it's
couldn't
back,
find.
it's back, it's back. Yes. And I was like,
Yeah.
dope,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
back in its own
Fuck
packaging
yeah.
now. It's not called Northland Impulse. It used to be in yellow packaging. Now it's in black packaging, and it just says Impulse. And I'm like, those
Huh.
are it. That's it. Shit, yeah. And
Fuck yeah,
then I
dude.
went out and caught my personal best on it. Like,
You
so
just found him again, and you went out and got your PB right off the. Oh my
I
god!
did.
Yes,
Yep.
dude.
Yep. Yep.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
so awesome.
Yeah. So yes, it was it was awesome. I'm just a little bit bummed that I didn't grab the GoPro because I was not expecting to catch a
Right.
giant one, because I actually thought the biggest ones were going to be on the other side of the lake. The place that
Oh,
I wanted to fish
right. Okay.
was not where I was fishing, but I
Yeah,
was like,
you were
if
just going out
I,
to check depth,
yep,
basically. Like,
yep,
are they
and it,
there? Are they where I think they are?
right, yep, and I'm like, if I can find here, if I can get a couple bites here, then
Right.
I know should be same on the other side of the lake.
Right. Right.
And then lo and behold, I'm like, well, shit, I was right.
Hell yeah, dude. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yep.
All right. Let's shift gears to another kind of fish. We're gonna keep talking about just fish, not fishing, but fish. Because I said there's American eel. I looked it up in the Thanksgiving special. I want to say again, I mentioned
Yep.
it and I was like, oh yeah, there's probably eel at the, and I'm like, what the hell? There's eel? Turns out these things are everywhere, man. I didn't know that,
Yeah,
but like they're all
I
over.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know where to find them, but I do know that they're not rare, I guess is a good way to say it.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I don't know if I've ever fished a lake that has them. So,
No, they're not. Well, they're not in lakes. I mean, not the American eel aren't in
oh,
lakes. They
oh,
actually live in
rivers.
estuaries.
Oh,
Estuaries. So
estuaries.
yeah, rivers. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
it's the end of the river, the mouth of the river, basically, right where the river meets the ocean. They're in that salty
okay.
freshwater mix.
Yep.
Yeah. I got most of my stuff from FSW again, fsw.org. It's the U.S.
Yeah.
Fish and Wildlife Services.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right though. They are in rivers.
Yeah.
They're mostly in the estuary, salty part.
Okay.
They sometimes get into the wetlands and crap like that. Like basically think of Florida. That's what I think of.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like that's
Yep.
kind of their. They're not. That's not their only place. Like of course
Or
to
yeah.
bring it back to the Thanksgiving episode, they are up north, and
They're
we'll get
yeah.
into that. But
I was gonna say like it's not swampy land, but there's a decent
right.
amount of spots like that out in Washington State, like Seattle and stuff. Like I
Oh
don't know,
really?
Puget Sound might be.
Oh yeah. No, I know that sound.
Is that
I
an
didn't see that they
estuary or
were.
is that a sound? I don't know what the hell a sound is
I
technically.
think that's an estuary. You're talking about the other side of the country now.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Yeah.
100% on that one.
I don't know because it's called a sound, the Puget Sound. A sound is a type too, so maybe an estuary and a sound are very
I didn't look
similar.
that up. I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah. I don't know.
It doesn't matter. I'm dropping shit that doesn't have it. I'm just like throwing stuff out that's
Yeah, no.
maybe
You're right. But I
related.
didn't even find them on the East Coast. When I was looking all this stuff up, it just says the primary habitat is the Atlantic east side
Okay.
of the United States. But they go from Greenland all the way to Panama down that east side. Like,
Oh, damn.
yeah, so that's why they're not rare.
And
Huge
they're
swaths.
still like that's still all considered American eel. Like that's just the species is just American eel.
I guess so, dude. That's what
Weird.
it said. Like I said, I pulled this. I mean, the research is all from here, and that's what they said. They're just like, hey, they run from here to here, and I thought that too. I was like, so that's still American eel then? Like,
Right.
I don't know. It seems weird to find American eel in Greenland, but
Weird.
I guess North American eel is maybe we're just being Americans about the word America,
Oh yeah, I suppose.
right?
Right. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that. Yes, there is that is all still America. Like yeah, okay. Never mind.
No, I was doing it too until you mentioned that, and then I was like, wait a minute, this is still like technically it goes from North America to Central America. Like, yeah, so I guess calling it the American eel makes sense.
Right. Hey, I got it real quick. I just
Mhm.
Googled it on my phone just to know. Definition of the sound does not help at all. It just, says
read it.
in geography, a sound is a large sea or ocean inlet, which sounds, like that we're
Yeah.
on the right path. But then it says it's deeper than a bite and wider than a fjord. It's literally
Fjord.
FJORD. It's a fjord.
Fjord.
Is that how
Yep.
you say that? Like Bjorn?
Yeah, that's how you say it. I have
Fjord.
no fucking clue what that means.
Or a narrow sea or ocean channel between two bodies of land. So it's like it's deeper than a bite, but wider than a fjord.
Oh.
Now you guys know.
When the acorns are the size of a squirrel's nuts, the smelt are running.
When the squirrel's ears are wider than the fjord, that's where you find the eel. Or I don't know.
No, just go to the estuaries. That's where they are. Oh,
yep,
and,
estuaries.
So I didn't even think about it because there was mention of them in the Great Lakes, and I'm looking up and I'm like, Great Lakes? What the? Oh yeah, fuck. Being the most inward, the most westward body of water is our Great Lake, right? Like this Lake Superior, and think of Lake Michigan too. I just don't think about the fact like, oh yeah, shit, part of the Great Lakes are actually estuary. It was just so weird to read that and like have it sink in, being from the central part of the United States and just totally spacing that out.
Right. You're just because for us we're like, well, it's the Great Lakes are
but
like
there's
right
no salt
there.
Water. Like yeah.
But then then you think about it, you're like, well, we're like the start of it, and then they span way the fuck east.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, ships literally come in from the ocean all the way to Minnesota.
Right.
They got there by coming in from the ocean. You're like, oh yeah, shit.
Right. Just whoops, forgot. We're just all over the place. I forgot about how Great Lakes work Forgot about how America works. But we know now about sounds. So
Right. Is it deeper than a bite? We know that much.
yeah, it's way deeper than a bite, probably.
Probably. So the weird thing that I learned or that I thought about these fish is you know how salmon they're you know how salmon spawn and live like they're out in the salt water and they live out there and then they come upriver.
Yeah.
Eels do the opposite of that. That's why you find them like in the Great Lakes. Like you go fishing for them in the Great Lakes because that's where they're living. You can just go in there. Then they swim out into the ocean to actually do their spawning. So they're like reverse breeding of salmon. That's like an uncommon thing,
weird.
Isn't it?
Yeah, this is odd.
Yeah. I thought that was super weird.
They're not as like if you're not familiar with American eel, I mean, check it out. Yeah. American eel, take a peek at them. They don't look the same as like the ocean eels. They're not as ugly. Well, I guess that's subjective. I think an ocean eel is ugly as shit. Like I think those things look creepy. Like I would not want to get near one. But an American
freak
eel
me out, dude.
Yeah, an American eel is not that bad. There's something about a ocean eel that like it looks like it has bad intentions. Like its face looks like it's just jaw? Like yeah, it's just sitting there like it's ready for you to get close. Like it's just like make a move, motherfucker. I'll bite your hand off. But an American eel just kind of looks like a fish almost. It's not in the face, I should say. It's not that weird.
No, describe the whole thing for sure. Because I'm right there with you, dude. It's like ocean eels freak me out, man.
Yeah.
But this American eel, I'm kind of like, I'd go fishing for that thing.
Yeah, it's not that weird looking. But could you imagine, like, I'm sure it still looks like a snake in the water, like how it swims.
Oh, probably.
And you see those running to the ocean like salmon would. Like you find the right river and there's just a million snake things. And you're just like, oh.
No.
It's coming down here for like to sip some water with my life straw. And there's snakes everywhere.
Oh my God. I freaking hate things that swim snake like, and I can't stand snakes in the water. It just, freaks me out, dude.
I'm not bothered by reptiles at all. So I'd be like, oh my God, this is crazy. And it looks weird, kind of creepy. But I think I'd be fine with it. I don't like eels. I don't like their faces. But like I said, the American eel, like if I saw one, like if I knew that's what it was, then I'd be like, oh, look, American eel. But that being said, when there's that many of them, like I don't mind snakes. But if there were like 500 of them running through a field, I'd be like, oh shit, get the fuck out of here.
Yep. You know? Things in large groups just freaks me out.
Yeah. Large groups.
Generally speaking.
Anything. Yeah, I don't mind ladybugs, but I think if you had a horde of them coming at me, I'd just be like, get the fuck out of here. Ladybugs are coming, man. This is gnarly.
Right. Yeah. And I want to I'll describe the American eel because it's like like you said, it's like a fish in the front of its head. Like its head is almost like a fish. It's got little swimmer. What are the swimmer fins called? Like that are just behind the gills.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Do you know?
I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. There's one on each side. Goby actually sit on the bottom and like sit on those. Like it's almost like their hands. They're just
like walk with those things, kind of.
Yeah, and then they just kind of like move forward, and then they'll sit again. It's funny to watch them swim, but
it is funny.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the pectoral fins maybe.
That sounds good. Somebody correct us. Put it in the comments. Somebody correct us. So little swimmer fins behind it's like a fish from its nose to behind those fins. It's just like, I don't know, like almost like a catfish or something like that. And then it's the dorsal fin and the fin that's underneath the dorsal fin. It just like runs the length of the body all the way back to a pointed tail, like a snake, like an eel. It's an eel, but it has a fin basically running on the top and the bottom of the entire eely snake part of it. And then it's just a catfish in the front almost. Not like a flat head catfish, but it just looks like a fish. I mean.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't look that weird. It's not that different than like I actually think that they're like a more like a better, less menacing looking fish than like a eel pout or a dogfish too.
Yeah.
Like dogfish have the like look like armor plated faces. Those things look like they fuck you up too. So I've heard they
Right.
will. I heard that those are assholes that they'll just bite you.
Really?
Yeah, but that's I've also heard people say that shit about muskies.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You put your feet
And
in the water, they'll come and eat it. If you toss a hot dog out, they'll eat your hot dog. Fuck, I'm not calling you a liar, but it's pretty hard to get a muskie to bite on a lure. I highly doubt they're just coming up and eating hot dogs.
and eating hot dogs. But I've seen Sonny's just come up and eat chunks of hot dog too.
I've
So
seen I've seen Sonnies eat bird shit. The bird flies over, drops a turd, boom, and the Sonnies are just like, ew. They're not very bright. They didn't eat whatever. They're just
That's
like, I'll
funny.
suck it in my mouth, and if I don't like it, I'll spit it back out. So they're not that hard to catch.
That's true. That's true. I didn't read if it was hard to catch the American eel or not. I'd read about how to catch them, and there was actually, dude, it comes down to, we've said this a bunch of times on the podcast already, is like, you have to just check your local regs, because you have to just figure out how to fish something, how they allow you to fish something. And
Right.
with the habitat that this thing spans, right? I mean, you could be fishing this in one state one day, and then the next state the next, and it'll be completely different. And some of them are protected. Like some states have sort of protections on them.
Weird.
Not that they're endangered, right? Or anything like that, but like, I guess they commercial fished them for a while, and that kind of hit the population hard, but you can still catch them personally.
Okay.
But anyways, what I was getting at there was there's just a lot of different ways to catch them, but I just pretty much was like, yeah, you just fish for them and catfish at the same time. You're gonna catch something.
Okay.
You're gonna catch what you want if you do that.
All right.
They're just muddy bottom fish. I mean,
so they're very catfish like.
yeah.
So
My comparison to the catfish when the looks in the head was totally part influenced by the fact that they're dirty bottom mud buckets.
well, in different species, I wonder if it's even real. I should look into that. Maybe they're even related, because there's different species of catfish that have tails like that too, where they have the fin on the like all the way around. Yeah,
really,
the big ones, but not here. I don't think. Not in America. Overseas.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So yeah, it's weird. We get the American eel is the one that looks like that, and then overseas, their catfish looks like our eel. Fucking weird.
You're just swapping them around.
Yep.
Oh, and to tie it into your walleye, how big was your walleye again? Length?
It was just shy of 24 inches, and I was like,
you count it as 24, like when you tell the story, but like if you're being 100% truth.
Well, right, because that's what I was talking. I was just like, should I just say 24? Because I'm like, it'd be weird for me to be like, it's like 23 and you know
7/8.
what 7/8 is 23 and 7/8. And then I'm just like, I said something, and immediately my wife and my sister, if you say 24, it's lying. You're not telling the truth if you say 24. And just like, God. I'm just like, whatever. And then everybody came to agreement that if I say it's just shy of 24 inches, that's not lying. So I'm like, okay.
Oh, okay.
We'll
then
say
I might
it's
have fibbed on.
shy of 24.
I think I must have lied on your behalf on Twitter.
Which is completely fine, because that's like, I'm not the kind of person that's just like, I'm going to lie and make it sound like it's bigger than it is.
Right.
An 1/8 inch, it's just easier to say 24. How big? 24.
Right.
How big? It was just shy of 24. Do you see how much less time it took to just say 24? I'm not saying it was huge, dude. It was the biggest thing anybody ever seen. You ever been to Garrison? You see that walleye that they have, that big statue? It's like 15 feet tall, like 40 feet long. It was like that big.
It was like that big.
That's actually. Well, I'm from the from the future or from the past. I
Right.
came here. Now I'm in the future, and I caught that fish, and they made a replica of it in the past. And it's a long story. Don't worry about it. But that's my
Don't worry
fish.
about it.
So
That's my fish, though. Because, well, you're not embellishing it each time, too. You're not telling your fish story. It's 26 inches, I'm pretty sure.
right,
28.
yeah,
Oh, it was 30.
nope,
Must have been a 32 inch if I remember right.
right,
Like,
exactly. I'm not making anything up. I keep the story exactly it was. I decided to go out in a torrential downpour. There was lightning. I had to fight a tiger and an alligator to get to the boat
yeah,
before I went out there. And
yeah,
then I caught the world record walleye, but then
with your bare hands.
with my bare hands, but the guy that was, keeping record of it was not able to elude the crocodile. So,
So
yeah,
nobody saw. There's no
it's
record of it, right? But that's the same
whatever.
story you just told like 20 minutes ago. That's for sure. Same thing.
Exactly. If you play it back, you will see that I'm telling the truth. And most likely, the big walleye lived in a bite because the bite was deep in, or the sound.
Deeper than the sound.
The bite was deeper than the sound. So you got to have deep enough water for a fish that big. So,
Yeah, but it was estuary for sure.
it was estuary, and it was definitely
Did I even say what an estuary?
somewhere
I
in
did, right?
America. Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
think so. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
water.
Oh, yeah,
It's freshwater and salt
The
water.
water. Yeah, because you said rivers, and I said okay.
It's a
Yeah, I was
nice.
like,
It's a
yeah, I
nice
did know.
brine, is what it is.
Oh, good call. Good call.
Yeah.
That's probably gonna come up in the grilling second half here.
Whoop, whoop.
So I wanted to talk about your walleye. Anyways, the size. You said it was about 24. These eels,
Yes.
their average size is about 20. I was like, oh damn, that's a pretty nice size fish. Then like
Yeah,
if you were
it's
to
a
pull
good
something
size
like
fish.
that in, you'd be like, oh shit.
Right.
Yeah, like 5 to 3 pounds, 3 to 5 pounds, or half a pound to 3 pounds, and I'm just like, half a pound. That's got to be kind of tiny.
Their
Like pulling a little half pound eel seems weird.
Their average length is
They're so common. Yeah, the most common length. So like the average is about
Yeah.
20 inches, and
that's
then
like
anywhere
3 pounds.
from
That's kind of light for 20. Well, I suppose that's probably on par with like a pike then.
oh really?
Well, probably for
I
about the
suppose right. They're
same
kind of skinny.
size. Yeah, because like a 20-inch bass would be heavier than 3 pounds, but
Sure.
a 20-inch northern would be probably in that realm. A 20-inch walleye would probably
Okay.
be close as well. Those are relatively skinny.
They're like narrow hydrodynamic kind of thing, which the
Yeah,
eel
right.
obviously is. Like I mean, being snake-like. I never thought about that. That's why we talk about this shit because
Yeah, a
it's
half
fun.
pound
Like,
would be small, but I suppose that'd be like the equivalent of catching like a bullhead. It'd be
oh,
the same.
right.
It'd be the same species, just a small version of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I say the same species because a bullhead is technically a catfish, but not the same
Right.
species. So whatever.
No, I know what you mean. You're saying you're making the reference back to like how I said that the American eel is kind of catfish, like lives on the bottom, muddy
Right.
catfish. It's catfishy, and if you're fishing for
Catfish.
both, you're gonna
Yep.
catch one or the other, catfish or an eel.
Yep.
The biggest one that I found, this came from the South Carolina DNR. They actually call them DNR there. The biggest one that they had recorded, 60 inches almost, 59.8 inches.
God
Jesus.
damn, dude.
No shit, right?
That's huge. Like
I know.
that's like world record muskie territory, man. That's a
No
monster.
kidding?
Yeah,
Holy
like
crap.
a 60-inch muskie is like, I don't remember what the record is. It might be right around there, like 61, 62. That's like
Okay.
a 60-pound fish.
Jesus.
It's a big fish. I don't know
Well,
what
yeah.
I don't know what that eel weighed. Did it say what the eel weighed?
No. Well, the thing is that they said 16.6 pounds is like a big one.
Yeah.
But if if you they didn't specify that it was the same one. They just don't.
Right.
That's not how they write the records.
That's insane, though. To
Dude,
have it, to
you're a
have a
tall guy, so
fish.
it's a little different for you. But like, if I were to pull that in, that's almost as tall as me. Like,
Yeah.
it'd be. Oh my god,
Well, the
dude!
part
If you
that
were
I'm
pulling it
fine.
over the edge of the boat, could you imagine?
Yeah, the part that I find most crazy because there are some fish that could get really big, but I don't
Sure.
know of any fish that are like that where you're like your average size is 3 pounds, but this one was 60. You're like, what the fuck?
No,
That'd be
not
like
60 pounds. 16 pounds.
oh
16.
16 pounds. But didn't
Yeah.
you say 60 inches?
Yeah. So average is 20. So this is
Right.
3 times bigger,
But
literally.
that 60-inch fish was 16 pounds?
Well, they don't write it exactly like that. That's not how the record.
Yeah.
It's not like this fish, the largest one was this. It just that was.
Cause that like a 60-inch muskie would be like 60 pounds. That's like what I'm
Yeah,
that's what
muskies
I'm
got big like they're thick though. They're
they
thick
are
not
they
in
are big fish, but you'd think that a big eel would be pretty big too. I would be
you
willing
would.
to bet that 60 inches he'd be more than 16 pounds.
I bet you it
But
was.
still,
I just
that's
don't think
just
that
even
one got
even
weight.
even in length, that's still just crazy to me. But I
I know.
guess it's like a snake. Like some
Right.
can just be small, but I can't think of any other fish where it would be like that.
No.
Where you're like, yeah, the average size is about this, but sometimes they get fucking
Fucking
huge.
huge. Right. It was crazy. I mean, it would the idea of pulling that thing over the side of the boat to me was just freaking me out because it's like that's 5 feet of fish that you have to like pull in, and it's like a rope.
Yeah,
It's not like
that's
weird.
probably
So
why
weird.
they were commercial fished.
Oh yeah. Also, probably why it doesn't really have a weight. Like we can't say for sure that the 60-inch one was the 16 pounds because you're right. They probably
Oh
got pulled
yeah,
out commercially. They saw it was huge, measured it, threw it in the pile. Said fuck it.
yep. They're like, wow,
It-
that's the biggest one we've ever seen. We're gonna
right.
make extra money off of this fucker.
Yep.
Throw it in
Yep.
the bag.
Yep. Measure it and throw it in. It was
Yep.
weird. They're mostly exported, is what it said when they're for food. I was like, I wonder what would make them an export. It didn't get into that part, but
Maybe
it said they were exported mostly.
maybe the Asian countries like it.
Yeah,
Seems
maybe.
like a kind of fish that they would eat.
Yeah,
They
because there
like,
was like eel over there for sure. Like when you like you
yeah,
said sushi, you know.
right, yeah,
Actually,
right.
did you say that on the podcast or was that pre-podcast? I don't even know.
I know. I think I did because I think you picked up your beer, and then I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
"Oh, I want beer, but I can't
Yep.
because I got heartburn."
That's what it was. Yeah. So they got eel. They're eating eel over there. I like eel sushi. In fact, that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this American
Yeah,
eel is one to figure out like is it possible? It's like shit. It's not super easy for us because we have to go. You have to go to an estuary to get it. It's not.
right.
It's not freshwater at all. That's why, like in the Thanksgiving podcast, it was all that's all East Coast estuary shit. That's all
Right.
coastline. So,
Mhm.
oh well. I did look up the eating part of it though. Ultimate Fishing, ultimate.fishing. That's their web address. Good web address, by the way.
Mhm.
Article by Rebecca. I'm gonna say Yoki.
Yoki.
From 2015. She
Hit
wrote
us up,
that.
Becky. If it's not your name, let us know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good point. Good
Just
point.
sounded
For real.
just sounded right to call her like by the nickname and just go with the southern accent. Rebecca Yoki? Becky, if this ain't your name, let us know, girl. We'll give you a shout out. Let you know. Let people know. Not let you know. You know your fucking name. I don't know. Sorry. I want to apologize real quick. I'm trying to keep it together. My son had an earache last night. I did not
Oh.
sleep much at all. And then working in this, if anybody's
Oh, that's
listening to
heat.
this from a different state, I am a delivery driver, and it was 97 degrees real temp, and it's hotter in the
Mm-hmm.
tin box that I have to drive around all day that
Oh
has
yeah.
not even a fan. It's no, not just no AC, there's no fan.
Yep.
So I'm a bit burnt out right now, and I didn't even know I was like sweating that hard outside. I went out to like pump up the pool and stuff, and I came back
Mm-hmm.
in, and I had a gray shirt on. I'm like drenched, like I'd been worked it out. I walked into the
Oh man.
bathroom, and I walked right back out to my wife, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I didn't know I looked this bad. And she's just like, mm-hmm, you look like shit. But no, sorry. I every once in a while I catch myself just like saying some shit, and I'm just like, what? I just need to stop talking. I meant to have a cup of coffee before we started this, and I didn't. And ironically, the anti caffeine has got me just rambling off at the mouth saying nonsense where you'd think it'd be the opposite. So
Right.
anyways, sorry to
I
derail
got it.
everything. I'm just like, sorry, I'm just doing a southern accent and talking to Becky. Like, what is going on with me? I'll try to keep it together.
You're doing fine, man. You're doing fine. I took this note and I specifically wanted to ask you because it said in this article, it said a number 6 or a number 2 hook with a leech and a worm. That's how you go get them. And I'm just like, yeah, a leech or worm at the bottom of a river, or yeah,
Yeah, sure.
catfish, eel. That's how you get it. What is number 6, number 2? What the hell does that mean, Tim? I
Well,
don't
that's why I
know.
made, if you're watching this, that's why I made that face, because the number 6 and the number 2, those are sizes.
Yeah.
And if the smaller the number,
Uh huh.
the bigger
The
the
bigger the
hook.
hook. Yeah.
Yes, until you
Yep.
go the other
Okay.
way. I think we talked about this on the podcast before. I made a reference to it being
Mm-hmm.
like the rankings in Virtua Fighter, where
Yes.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. I
and
remember
like
this.
once
It's
you
all
get to
sounding
the
familiar as
bigger,
you're saying it.
yeah, and once you get to the bigger ones, then it's like 1-aught, 2-aught, 3-aught, the higher the number, and that
Yes.
it gets bigger.
Yes.
But the hook size, a number 2 is bigger than the number 6. But the reason I made the face is because there's also a number 4. They're just like, you
Mm-hmm.
go number 2 or number 6. None of that number 4 shit. It's just weird that they skip that size.
Right. Right. You could have said it should. I swear that's what it said, or, but maybe it was between a 6 and a 2. Either way,
Oh, maybe it's just funny to me. But yeah,
right.
a number 2 and a number 6, like they're just sizes. I don't know offhand how big it is. Number 6 would be like closer to like a walleye hook. That's not a very big hook.
Okay.
And number 2 would be decent. Number 2 is the size I was just catching crappie on. I think I had a number 4,
Mm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
was missing some hookups, so I went to the slightly bigger hook of a number 2. So
Oh,
they're,
interesting. Yeah.
pan well, number
Well.
number 4 is probably like a good panfish size, like all around panfish. Crappies have pretty
Okay.
big mouths. So I
Right.
went with a number 2. A number 6 would be pretty small for a
Pretty small.
crappie, but it'd be fine for a sunfish. Probably small for a sunfish too, because then you're going to deal with a lot of sunfish swallowing the hook.
Well, actually, that's what I was going to ask you. Is like they basically said, or in this article again, was that they inhale, which catfish do. Those, but that's kind of what those bottom
Oh
fish
yeah,
do,
yeah. They
right? Those
just
bottom
suck
fish,
it.
they
Yeah,
sit
they
there and they just.
suck in all that. Yeah, they suck in everything, and then they like expel the dirt and just kind of like keep the actual food in the
food.
shit that they're sucking in.
Okay.
I don't know the science behind how they actually do that, but they just
Right.
like they literally, they're called bottom feeders because they're like sucking everything in that
Mm-hmm.
is the bottom. They just suck
Right.
in the shit and then push the dirt back out. That's why the ground is so dirty in lakes that have a bunch of carp and stuff, because the carp and the catfish they're down
Mm-hmm.
there literally sucking in the dirt and pushing the
Yeah.
shit back out into the water.
Yeah. And they're mucking it up. And that's what, yeah, we've talked
Mucking
about
it.
that with carp before. They're literally
Yep.
like mucking it up. So would the way they inhale it, would that change the way the hook? Like, could you just use a smaller hook because they're just going to suck it in basically and you're going to probably snag them? But it did say, just try to pull fast, try to react quickly so you're not just pulling up inhaled hooks.
Oh yeah. I mean, Probably. I would assume that maybe it's just like, like a more finesse presentation. Like
Oh.
if they're more pressured,
Mhm.
like a bigger hook sometimes the will scare away the fish. And
Oh,
walleye are known to be
sure.
spooky. That's why a lot of people, when they use a live bait presentation for a walleye,
Mhm.
they have really small hooks
Oh.
because the smaller hook doesn't seem to spook the walleye, and that's why you just like let them chew on it. Like if you ever see anybody fishing like a Lindy rig, is there's a couple of different ways you could do it, but it'd be basically like a hook with a tag line that goes to a swivel,
Okay.
or there'd be a sinker on there that can move, and there's like a swivel on the other end. So where you're dragging it, the weight's there, but if the fish bites it, you can let it go, and it'll pull the line freely through that weight. And you just kind of let them eat it with that little tiny hook. And then you set the hook and you reel it in. But if they're more
Oh.
aggressive than a walleye, you know, and they
Mhm.
inhaling it right away,
Right.
I think you could probably get away with a bigger hook.
Sure.
But I don't really know. I guess it's just personal preference. It's just like me with the crappies.
Oh,
I was like a
sure.
number 4 would catch them, but I was missing
Mhm.
fish, so I went to a number 2.
Oh,
That's when
sure.
like we were talking about the circle hooks, the octopus circle hook would
Okay,
probably
yeah.
come in handy because of the way it hook sets. Like they could eat it and then you just reel it up and it just kind of like slides out of the mouth and sets the hook on its way out.
Huh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So
Now we wanna go
let's
fishing for them
yeah, we
with,
I
like,
think
trying different things.
we're gonna have to make a trip to an estuary that's
Sounds sweet.
deeper than a bite and figure this thing out.
Um, the dude, so to go into the food thing about the American eel, because now the hook, the fishing for them is, you can trap them and you can do other things, but I will stick with the fishing line, just the straight up angling for them because that's
Yeah.
kind of what we know. So I think like that, I like that method and just thinking about that. But then once you catch one, you got to eat it. I mean, that's what I think. And they also said, like, yeah, you kind of, if you go fishing for them, you're probably going eating for them because of the way that they inhale, right? It's not
Oh
going to
yeah, that's
survive.
what I was
It's
thinking.
probably not
Like,
going to survive if you catch one.
right, yeah, the same like the reference I was making to the sunfish. If you use too small a
Sure.
hook, they're swallowing
Mm-hmm.
it, and if they're swallowing it, they're probably not going to make it
Right.
because, yeah, bad news. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's I
So,
suppose that's kind of the same for catfish. I don't know
yeah.
anybody that catches and releases that shit. You're out there
Right.
trying to catch food.
Right. Yep. For sure.
So
Yeah. Catch and release would be, I mean, unless you get a monster, but then I don't know. Any, I've just started thinking about catching huge catfish and like how people are noodling and things like that. But that's a
right.
whole different other topic. I got to keep us on track here. Uh, so killing them to eat them, and we're getting long anyway, so it's time to wrap it up. Eating them, killing them. We're gonna turn this straight into the second half. That is going to be about grilling for the summer
And
and
murder.
murder.
No, not.
No, not a bummer. But seriously, this cleaning and killing thing was so weird because they're slimy. Like, why wouldn't they be? They're a snake, right? Blech.
Right.
It said put them in a pail with a bunch of salt. Like
Mm,
what? Like you're killing snails? Like you're a fucking 6-year-old kid with salt out there just killing snails? What the fuck, dude?
I guess they're like, dry the fucking thing out. Cure it right
Yeah,
away. I don't know.
just throw it in a pail, throw some salt on it. It'll just dry out. I'm like, oh
I've never
no.
heard of that, like with any other kind of fish.
Yeah, I
But
know.
I guess, I don't know. Maybe that
Yeah,
is something people do with other fish. I've never done it.
no.
Maybe it makes sense though. Like
Yeah, I,
I do deal with a lot of slime. I just always have a hose and you just kind of like wash it off. But maybe
sure.
salt gets rid of all that stuff.
That's
I
what it
don't
said. It says that if you put because the salt will just kill it. I mean, I'm thinking it's also drowning because it's like after a couple hours, and I'm just like,
yeah.
how fucking long can this thing live outside of water? I didn't get that in this article or
Right.
in all my research. I didn't get it,
But
but
they live in estuaries where they're just like, yeah, it lives in part salt water, but too
oh,
much salt, it.
that's because
I
there's
don't
no
know.
water. It's just salt,
I
like a
guess,
snail.
yeah,
You just pour,
yeah.
like you
If it,
just
yeah,
pour salt on top of it.
I suppose anything that lives in salt water, if it was just salt, they'd still just be like, what the fuck, dude?
Right. And you would think, and I don't know, but you'd think that the slime has something to do with it, because it did say that the slime comes off. Then basically, like you kill it that way, and then you just rinse it off, and it's not slimy anymore either.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Well, right.
okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
I should look into that. Maybe that's something I could do.
Like with
Just
slimy fish, like with pike here.
yeah, just bring. Well, got myself my limit of crappie today, and now I got a bucket and some Mortons, and I'm just gonna salt these fish,
Right.
and then I'm gonna clean them. Maybe it will work. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Not
I don't
sure
know.
why
Never
I went
heard
to
of
a
it, so I
southern
definitely had to
accent
bring it
again.
up. I caught on to
Sorry.
that, and I was just like, Tim's just going off. So you kind of clean it like catfish or whatever. They like smoking it, kind of like all rough fish, right? We've talked about carp. Smoking carp is like a big thing. They're high in fat, so you have to. So like that part spoils really quickly, so you kind of have to take care of them real fast. So that was a pretty cool thing that I learned.
Those would smoke
And
good.
then what's
The
that?
those would probably smoke really good then, because like the salmon are high in fat.
Oh,
And
right.
salmon is like the best smoked fish there is. So
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't even think about that. No wonder smoking it must be the like
Right.
is the more favorite way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know? So it said that mercury is higher in the skin. So keeping the skin on is like, yeah, whatever, but don't eat too much of it. Do you know if that's true? Is that a generalization of fish that there's more mercury in the skin than there is in the rest of the fish?
I really had no idea. I don't eat skin. Like
Okay.
I've never cooked the fish where you keep the skin on and just descale it. So I have no idea. I've never looked into it. I always fillet it clean off the skin, so you're just eating the meat.
Perfect. So, perfect transition, because I do want to talk about that. That's actually in my grilling goals this year, is to talk about that. The skin on, skin off, that sort of situation. So perfect transition, because we're going to go from the American eel, grilling it, smoking it, all that fun stuff, straight over into topic 2, where we're just going to talk about summer grilling goals, tips, if we got any, and just we're going to do that for the next 30 minutes. So don't go anywhere. Come right back. I wanted to do that. I just wanted to do that like old school transition of like, hey, don't go anywhere, because when we get back, I just, yes.
Stay tuned,
yes.
Guys and gals. I was trying to think of something else to call men and women that are listening, but I couldn't think. My brain not good.
You're not sharp as a tack today. I get it, man.
Yeah.
So
words.
Let's get into the second half then. This grilling and stuff like that. We'll start talking about it. Ready? Okay. Let's take the break.
All right.